Coming to your source with some, well, the gameplay isn't really too important in this video. I'm just going to be talking about, the Oscars, and I feel like every single year, I try to do something related with the Oscars. Usually it hasn't been on my channel, but it's been, like, my personal life or whatever, which my channel pretty much is now. It is part of my, personal life. But anyway, every year I watch the Oscars and stuff like that. I love, movies and all that stuff. So I'm watching the Oscars, I'm like, you know what? I have my predictions for what's gonna be in the Oscars and stuff, and usually I'm never right, cause like they're always like movies that seem to like slip me, and stuff like that. Like Birdman, I'm like, what? Wait, what's Birdman? and I didn't know what Whiplash was or something like that, or movies like that. So Oscars surprised me, and to be fair, I'm not in this video. I haven't seen a lot of the best. I haven't seen Whiplash. I haven't seen Birdman. I haven't seen Grand Budapest Hotel. I've seen parts of it. I haven't seen the whole thing. I know the general themes around a lot of the movies. Imitation Game. The other one, Foxcatcher, and all that stuff. I've seen the majority of them. In terms of the styling and all. So I know what they're like. But man, like every single year, these Oscars disappoint me so much. I expect so many things out of these Oscars. Like I feel like, the movies I watch, I feel very, very attached to, a couple movies, and so that I do sort of have a bias in that regard. But I mean, I honestly, who wouldn't have a bias in this thing? Like the biggest surprise for me is how poorly Interstellar was represented. I've made a review. Sort of breakdown on this, and I've told you guys this is such a good movie. I can't decide if it's my favorite movie last year. It probably is. It's right up there with X-Men: Days of Future Past. So those are like my two. Those are my two top two favorites, I guess. And then even then I have to say Interstellar, man, it's just so good. Like I know it has its flaws, yes. The movie's a little bit long, and it does take sort of conveniences, but all these things I want them to be in there, because what happens is if a movie's long from Christopher Nolan, then I get a longer experience from that guy, and I love Christopher Nolan so much. He's dude, this man literally inspires me every single day to make YouTube videos. He's one of the reasons I do it, because I want to be like him. I want to be a great artist in the making, and make these great videos and movies and give these great experiences to people, my fans, my audience, whatever, whoever may want to watch my videos. So I want to give you guys that, and he's such a big inspiration, and I feel like he does not get the awards and stuff he deserves. Yes, I mean you shouldn't do something for awards or something like that ever, just because it takes away from the experience and the passion you have for that thing. But I mean, still, you should. I think greatness needs to be rewarded at some time, and he just hasn't. So the fact that Interstellar didn't get nominated for Best Picture or Best Director, the fact that it didn't win, even if it didn't get nominated, is a little disappointing to me. I just don't get this other thing too. How is Hans Zimmer's scores, almost very, I think the only Oscar he's won is for Lion King. I don't get how this man, who creates the best, literally, for me, he creates the best music of anyone ever. I know a lot of people will fight me, for John Williams with that. John Williams and Hans Zimmer, the thing with John Williams is, he's my second favorite. He's a fantastic music composer, but the thing I think I like about Hans Zimmer more is that John Williams is more of a sort of memorable track person. Like you think of a track and you'd be like, oh yeah, that's Indiana Jones, that's Star Wars, that's Jaws, or something like that. And then but you think of Hans Zimmer and you think of these really great composed themes and just like this epic sort of vibe that goes through all of them. And then that's why I love that guy so much. So I love Hans Zimmer. I just don't get how he didn't win. Like I mean, I just don't feel like some of the Oscars do a good job. I mean, yes, there is a strong bias among Oscars and stuff. If you can tell, a lot of the movies and pictures that get nominated or win are usually dramas or musicals or something like that. They're not too many action movies or something like that. Even though action movies, in my opinion, can be. There's nothing wrong with an action movie being as good as a drama movie. Like I was a little bit surprised that Dark Knight Rises got literally no mention at the Oscars in the 85th Oscars. There's no mention of it. They just didn't. No Oscar nominations. Didn't even reference it or something. And I have to admit, it was a better movie than a lot of the other movies that year. It was also my favorite, but you know. It was my favorite for a reason. So I just don't like that. I feel like it's being really, really underrepresented, and that just takes away from the experience when you watch a movie and you're like, this movie is beautiful, it's perfect, it reminds me of everything that I love about cinema, and all of those things, whether it be the costume, whether it be the score or the directing or whatever it may be, and just to see it underrepresented by the Oscars due to a little bit of a bias, and I do have to say a little bit of name recognition. I do think that the reason why Hans Zimmer won Lion King and not, tracks like Interstellar, Inception, and all that, although they're both fantastic in their own regards, I think Lion King sort of has a name for itself of being like a Disney musical and all. So when people say that, they're like, oh, it's a Disney musical. We know that Disney musicals are very good. And when you hear a score from like another movie that's unrelated with good soundtracks and all, people are sort of they sort of like push it under the rug and be like, yeah, this trust me, and I just don't feel like that's fair at all. It's very wrong. So I mean, that is a couple of my complaints. I mean, these complaints happen every year. There's some other things I have wrong with it. I mean, but overall, I think the Oscars, they need fixing. They because I do feel like they do have a strong bias and they don't represent all the movies of that year. Yet they are the most prestigious awards. For me, I've been saying this for a while now, but I think the easiest fix to the Oscars is to make the awards more about specific movies. Like, have an award that has best ending for a movie, best action sequence from a movie, best most funny movie or something like that, best comedy. So what these do is that they actually get to recognize some of the other movies that had such great moments in them, because Interstellar didn't get recognized for, in my opinion, having the best ending of of any movie from such a long time ago, for at least a year or so, because it just ties it in so well. And then the fact that X-Men and some other movies like that didn't get nominated for they could get nominated for best action sequence, when of course you know what I'm talking about for X-Men, the Quicksilver scene. I'm just gonna say that. If you've seen X-Men Days of Future Past, you guys know exactly what I'm talking about, what scene should be nominated for best action in this case, and what movie should be nominated for best comedy or something like that, just so these movies can get represented in that regard, and not feel completely left out when it's unfortunate that they do. But so anyway, that's what I have to say about the Oscars. They're great. They're great for the drama section and all. It just, of course, not great for, or not so great for everything else. So anyway, thank you all for watching. Hope you guys subscribe, and check out one of the 2 other videos on screen if you haven't seen them yet. I can say that much slower and better than T Martin, which is funny because he said it first. I don't know. See you guys.
Warbird support requested. Hardpoint is moving. Friendly UAV above. UAV in waiting. Friendly UAV above. Good work, team. I'll give Irons a good news.